Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a how to assemble video for my concept model Transformers animated headbanger, aka Beast Box. And before I get into the assembly video itself, I would like to go over a couple of things. One, I do not designate colors to each of the components for my Transformers animated figures, as it's user choice. It's up to you, the user, to decide your color palette for your figures, and not everybody has a multicolor printer like I do. For example, some of these parts are printed in multicolor, and that's because I have a multicolor printer and I painted the letters in the slicer software, and then I sliced that to print like that. So not everybody has a multicolor printer, and we all aren't the same. Some people would like a different color scheme than others. Like, for example, here I've got traditional colors. It's just a two-color purple and white. Here I've got a three-color, this beautiful blue and this golden yellow and a white. And this guy here, he's got an alternate head sculpt that has a mohawk. So, and on this one over here, he's got some optional components that will be available in the set that will make him more like a Optimus Primal, including his head sculpt, wrist guards, forearms, and little legs. So and he's not finished. I didn't put all his components on him, but he's here for just the purposes of this video to discuss color choices. So there's that. For another good example of this is my roadies, aka Frenzy and Rumble. I have 7 of these guys printed up, including 2 in the traditional colors, but also I decided to print 2 of them in more Optimus Prime and a Megatron style, just to give us a variety. So again, like I'm saying, and it's user choice, right? You can make whatever you want. You're limited by your imagination. So here I've got one of my roadies with Optimus Primal colors. And I don't have their wing pack on them, or if that did, you wouldn't be able to see the hole in the back. But and here I've got one in sort of a Megatron style scheme. So and I've got 6 or 7 of these guys printed up in various colors, including some shattered glass variants and the traditional color variants. So it's user choice. It's up to you. You're only limited by your imagination and what you can do. And there is optional, like you see this bottom part of this guy's legs, they're slightly different than the traditional roadie. This is an optional leg panel you can print off and give him this look. Same with this crotch. This is an optional crotch as well. And but pretty much everything else the same. We have I have multiple head options too for these guys to give them slightly different expressions. They're not overly or drastically different, but they're slightly different. So that's the first thing I want to go on about is color palette. It's user choice. I don't designate a color to any of the components. It's up to you to figure out what colors you want to print these in, because they can be printed in any color you want. Second thing is hardware. I do not list where I get my hardware. Half it I buy at the local hardware store or the local dollar store. Maybe springs I buy online, AliExpress or Amazon, depending on where I go. But hardware wise, it's not rare or unique hardware that I'm using here. I'm just using for all of these guys, any that require a screw, it's going to be a 4-40 Imperial screw, and you just go and look up your equivalent metric if you can't get Imperial. I live in Canada, And even though we have the metric system here, we're heavily influenced by the United States south of us, so imperial is the more common screw type to buy here. So 4-40, look up your equivalent metric, because they're not threaded, they're just holes, and the screw makes the threads. So it doesn't matter if it's metric or imperial. All that matters is the diameter of the threaded part of the screw. And you're going to make sure it's a pan head screw. It's got to be a pan head screw unless otherwise stated. So, and I don't go over lengths too much on these. I don't detail that, but what I do is I tell you in the notes and stuff, I buy a box of 100 of these 1-inch screws. And then I'll take something like a pair of electrical wire strippers, like, or cutters like this. This is an imperial one, and it's got all of these different little slots in here to cut your screws to lengths, and this is a 440. So I'll thread my screw in there, cut it, and then thread it back out, and then I'll go from that to that using these. And I'll buy a box of 100 of these, because if I'm building 2 or 3 of these, I might need 4 at this size, 1 at this size, 1 at another size. If I go buy a 6-pack of 1/2 inch and a 6-pack of 1/4 inch and a 6-pack of 1 inch, that'll end up costing me more than the little box of 100. And I got far less screws. So I just buy a box of 100 1-inch, and then I could size them as I need them. It's far cheaper, and I don't have to worry about buying too many of a smaller size that I can't use in a different area or for a different component. So I just buy a box of 100 of these 4-40s, panhead screws, and I get them locally, but I'm pretty sure you can find them on AliExpress, Amazon, or at any local hardware store you go to. For this figure, also, I don't really have anything special to say about pins. I buy these jumbo paper clips. They have a little rubber coating on them. Some might not, some do. I peel it off. It's not hard to peel off. And then what I'll do is I'll just cut the straights off, because my pins I need for these guys are 1mm. And I'll cut the straights off, and then I'll just have these and I'll set them aside. And this is pretty cheap. Like, that's in Canadian, $1.25 for 80 of these, and I get 3 large pins out of each one of them. So that's that for my pins. For this figure, he is the most complicated of the group of my Knights of Cybertron to assemble. He requires the most varying of hardware. He's going to require a spring. Now, you could rob one from a pen if you want. Just a little spring. It doesn't need a lot of resistance. It's just got to slide over one of these 4-40s. And like I said, it could be a screw from a pen, or you could get a bulk pack of these. I think the diameter of these is about 4mm, and this spring here is about 50mm long. And you don't need a lot of tension. It just needs a little bit. Just a little bit. And so that's a unique thing you're going to need for this figure. You're also going to need, for this figure, one 4-40 nut, or a nut for the equivalent metric screw that you get for your 4-40. You're also going to need a couple, 4 or 5 washers. If I can get this up here, if you can see that. It's very small. 4-40 washer, and mine are a little undersized because it's all I could get my hands on. They're only 5mm outside diameter, these 4-40 washers. It could do to be a little bit bigger than that, but that's all I could get my hands on. And I'll have notes that tell you the maximum size washer you need, but you're going to need 4 of them for these sections. And this section, it goes up to 7.5, 7 or 8mm diameter, but I'd stay slightly under that. And you see, I could go bigger, but that's all I have on hand, is that little 5mm diameter washer. You're also going to need one for the screw slash spring assembly. And we'll go over all of this as we assemble this thing. I'm not going to have detailed written instructions in the product page or the notes. This is the detailed instructions. So there will be a note on the product page to watch this video before you make your purchase. And if you choose to make your purchase before you watch this video, that's on you. That's on you as I go over everything in the video for this guy. He is, as I mentioned, he's not complicated, but he's the most complicated of the group to assemble. He requires the biggest variety of hardware. Now, something else you'll need, and this is user choice, but your face of your drum is going to require these parts get attached. These can clip on, but they might fall off. They might get loose over time. So, and you want to have access to the screw in here if it gets loose. So, let me put that there. Let me get another one here to show off. So, for example, this is the leg. It takes a little trim panel there. Not sure if this is the one for this one or not. So something like that. This is the wrong. Let me see this one. Yeah, there we go. So this one here, you could glue that on. So you could glue them all on if you don't ever want to worry about getting to your screws again. Or you could use some 3M double-sided tape for the components that you would like to be able to get behind eventually. And these ones here should clip in place. But the clips can wear out over time, and you might have to use some two-sided tape. And for all your other little components like this, you could use some glue to glue them to their mating parts. Okay, now with all that said, let's get into this build. I don't have an organized step-by-step for components. I'm just going to go into it and start assembling it, and you'll have to bear with me as we go. So some components that we're going to start off with is his hands, and they go in, there's a left and a right, and they have a wrist guard, and you're going to glue these together. Side. So here's his back, and then we want to take, so this component here will go like that and come around and go like that, and we want a screw goes through here like this into here, and we have to make sure it's not too long that it will hit the front here. And if you buy these in this 1-inch length, okay, so we're going to do this assembly next after the hands. We're going to need a spring, a nut, a washer, a 20mm lengthened thread screw. We're going to need 2 screws that are roughly 5mm in length thread, 4 to 5mm in length thread for this assembly. So this is probably the trickiest part of the entire assembly. So you put this screw in here, and then there is a recessed hole there that the pan head screw will sit in, and these two line up with each other. They're grooved to line up, and then you take your shorter screws, get that in there, and screw these two parts together. it's nice and seated. It should be just sticking past the edge of the red a little bit. Make sure it's fully seated. Yeah. The other one. You don't want these too long because they'll push out the other side. So 4mm thread is more than enough on these two screws. And you're not going to be able to buy one of these screws with a 4mm thread. You're going to have to use the electrical wire cutters to cut them to the length you'll need. And for anybody out there, because I did have somebody make this ridiculous comment to me on one of my products pages for one of my transforming animated figures. No, I cannot engineer something this complicated to make have all the screws the same length. That doesn't work. If you think you can, you give her a go. Okay, so like that. This is going to be loose and wiggly. So this is where this is a little tricky, because this screw has to go. There's a tab right there and a little slot right there. Okay, so this has to go through here, through this hole. And then we take the spring and we put the spring on the screw. And we don't need, we need to get that spring down, and we need to hold it down by whatever means you have. Okay, and while we're holding it down, we're also putting some force on the side of the screw so that it doesn't spin freely. And then we get our washer, we put our washer on there, and then we get our nut and we put our nut on, and we just tighten our nut. And we should have enough force with our finger on there that we should be able to tighten that nut that we get past a couple of threads. Just like that. And if you want to be safe and ensure your nut doesn't spin freely off, you can take a little bit of Loctite and put that on there, and that'll make that so that that doesn't come loose. So now we have this assembly right there. And what this allows us to do is take this, spring it out, and the spring causes this to snap into place in two different places. See? Just like that. And that is that right there. Okay. Now we can look at these legs. They're pretty simple. A tricky thing is these little thighs here, because when you print, you get when you try to print circles like this, you don't get them uniform. If you can see that, right? You don't get them uniform, and ideally you want them uniform, because if they're oval, you'll get a point where you're in your articulation where you're moving them that they might want to pop out. And if you've got this nub here, it could force them to pop out. But this little thigh goes right in there. It should clip in. If you break those tabs, it'll get really loose. Right, see, just like that. Just like that. And I heard a tab snap in there, but it still should be good. And depending on how you're orienting this for print, will dictate the strength of these things. Okay. Clean that crap off. Get you in. Here we go. You see I've got that stupid little nub there that's going to limit everything. It's going to push this out. And at the moment I don't have a way around printing these without these stupid little nubs. And you can't print them standing up like that because they'll be weak. You can't print them standing up because they'll be weak along the layer lines. Okay, now we have our feet. And the left foot will have an L at the bottom. And you're looking for your part here that has an L. I'm trying to figure out which one it is. Where are you at? One of these does have a letter L on it. I just don't know if it's underneath this flat. Oh, right there. Right there. So you get your L, your little L lower leg and your L foot, and this foot goes right there. And the foot usually tabs in better than this because there's no weird spot on it, but it is a little squished because of the nature of FDM. But that goes in there like that. You get that leg assembled. Then you do the other one. You get that leg assembled. And when you set them aside, they'll go in here eventually. Right, your left on this side, and your right on that side. We're gonna get the glue out. We're gonna glue some parts here. Glue on his abs. Glue on pecs. They snap into place decently, but I would glue them in case they fall out. Okay. Okay, so we've got a body, 2 hands, 2 legs, and his back. And next we'll take his head. Give you a nice close-up of this head sculpt. Right, now there's variations of this. There's one with a mohawk. I just took the basic here for now. And this is the base for his head. And we take his body. This will go on like that, okay, just like that. It will clip into here. So this is the front, this is the back, and this is the bottom right here. And this just goes on his head like this. And we just need a screw, and all we need is 4 millimeters of thread. You can go a little longer. You can go 4 to 8 on the head because the hole in here is quite deep, but 4 millimeters is long enough. We just connect these 2 pieces together. Just like that. And then there's his head. And his mobility on his head is limited due to the nature of the figure. There's not much left to right on this. And then this can just slide into one side and then snap into the other. If I can get a grip here. Just like that. And his head folds up into his back. Right there like that for transformation. let's work on his big massive arms. So we've got our base shoulder components here. You see one has an L on it. This is the back side, this is the front. There is a ball socket connection here that when you connect the back and the front of the gorilla together, this will hold this in place. And then there is a tab slot here to connect that down. It's a little like that. And then when you can keep it locked and have the arm like that, or you can unlock it to have the arms be able to rotate to the back of the gorilla. So we'll take this guy and we'll take this left shoulder pauldron assembly, and this in robot mode or gorilla mode, this is the back and this is the front. This is going to go in here like this. We're going to take one of my 4-40 screws. I've cut it down to about 8 millimeters here. Your range can be anywhere from like 5 or 6 all the way up to 10 millimeters. One on either side. And I recommend a bigger washer than I have here. You can go up to about 7.5 millimeter in outside diameter for your washer, as long as it's a washer that fits a 4-40 panhead screw. This little washer is all I have in my inventory of hardware here, and it's a 5 millimeter diameter. I wouldn't go any smaller than this. You don't want it super tight, but you want it tight enough that it doesn't slide too freely, that it gives you some friction for the articulation. And this slide ability here too, you want to be able to do that. So let's get the other side. And then if you have to back off on them just a little bit. Right, so that's too tight. So I'm just going to back off a little bit on either side. And then I'm going to make sure that I can move that and that my shoulder's not overly floppy. Because the rest of his arm hangs off of here. You don't want it overly floppy. So I'm going to tighten this one up a little bit. And do all your adjustments now. One of them will still be accessible, like the one on the face here. I know I was debating on covering this up, but I want to be able to access that for adjustment, because I'm not going to be able to access this one unless I rip off the front of the drum. So, and due to the nature of how rough this slot is, because I printed it like that, so there's support material that made that not such a smooth surface on this side. It impacts how easy this slides. Like the other side slides fine. But that should be good right there. Now we've got this hole here, and we have our left, this goes here, and we're going to put in, we want something with a little bit of depth to it, so I'm going to take a screw here that I have about 10 millimeters of thread on there, and you can go anywhere from like 8 to 12, should be fine. You want to get that hole right there. This is another screw where you want it tight enough that you're going to create fiction for this rotational joint, because this is a rotational joint for the arm, where you can rotate it like that. So you're going to want the screw tight enough to give you some resistance there. Okay. Next is this forearm piece. That's going to go right here, like this, and you're going to need, do I have some FOD in there? I might have some FOD. Oh, okay, good enough. You're going to need 20 to 25 millimeter screw here. And again, you want it tight enough to give you some decent resistance. Because that opens up, like that's your elbow. Next, you're going to take your left hand and that's going to go in here. You've got these little holes. You've got a place for panhead screw on either side. You're going to want something that's anywhere between 8 and 10 millimeters in length. Again, you want enough. You want to tighten your screw enough that you get some decent friction there for the joint. Let's do the other one. I pre-cut some of these screws ahead of time. I just eyeballed them. I didn't do any fine measurements or anything like that. And I want to correct myself. I bought 3/4 inch. I didn't buy, these aren't 1 inch, these are 3/4 inch, I believe. Okay, so there you get an arm. You've got pulled in. You've got your, get that in the socket. You've got wrist rotation here. You've got upper arm rotation. There's your elbow. It's only like a 90. And then you take your hand. Why is that pushing it? Oh, I don't know. Too far that way. There we go. So there's your arm. And we've got 2 panels we've got to put here. So this side here is going to be, you see there's an L there. And that's going to go there, and we're going to, this is going to be a pin. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold this hand in. I think it might be easier to do that. And get that on there. Like that. We'll get a pin here. Is that long enough? Yep. I have any material? I have material on that one. Let's get a pin where I have the plastic off of it. There we go. Get that in there. And then we'll get that right there. And we're going to cut it and glue it. Okay, and then I'm going to take some glue so that that pin doesn't come out because it's a little loose. I might have cleaned out the hole too much. A little bit of glue there. A little bit of glue there. Should hold that pin just fine. Now we're looking for one of these. This one's got an L. And you're going to go right there. So we'll get a pin for this. Start it. come through to the other side, and then we'll get flush, and then we'll trim it, and then we'll apply some glue just to keep the pin from falling out. Okay, we'll open that hand up, and this goes down like that. In there like that. It fills out the arm. Just tabs right there like that. Just like that. Okay, and then we'll set that aside. That's one arm done. Now we'll do the other arm. Need to cut down a few more screws because I don't need them super long. Guess I'll go over what I do here. I just eyeball it. Take this guy, go through here. Clean that out. This for here. Let's get a pin started. Right there. Put some adhesive in there. Just get some glue to keep that, make sure that pin stays. And then let's do the other one. Pull that hand out. This clamps there like that, except when I glue my finger to it. And then this hand, if you go too far that way with the hand, you won't be able to do the rest rotation. You have to make sure you're out here a little bit. So there, clip there, and these rely a little bit on friction. I might adjust those clips before I release the model set. But there you have his arms all done. Now we can take his arms and put them here. On his back. And attach the back half of his body. Get that there like that. Try to do this on camera. Get you there. Get it in there. There we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes. Okay. And you're going to want about a 10 millimeter screw, and I don't have any cut to that length, so that's what I'm going to have to do right now. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here I have 4 screws trimmed to length. Now we will get you together. We're on the home stretch. And then we got a screw hole here and a screw hole here. So these are a little tricky to get to, but they are doable. Magnetic screwdriver. Okay, get that, put that there like that. And these get in there. Okay, now let's clear some crap out of the way. I gotta fix these. Why aren't you tabbing? Come on. There you go. What about you? The front, and that is the back. And now we just grab his left leg and pop it in this socket. Come on. Get in there. There. And we just rotate. Get in there. Rotate that like that. Get that foot down like that. And then get this guy here. Pop him in. Come on. Gotta get a grip here somewhere. Get in there. There we go. These go on an angle. Okay, come here. Rotate this. Be careful not to, if you rotate it incorrectly, it'll pop out of its socket here. easy fix, easy to pop it back in. Put that foot there, put that foot there. Come here, let's plant your feet a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so he's for the most part assembled. We just have to do all the components for the drum itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to transform this guy, and then we'll put the drum components on. So get this shoulder here and clip it into place with the tab and slot connection right there. Come on. Oops, and I knocked the foot off, or his leg. I'm grabbing him in the wrong place. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. Come on. There we are. And I took a leg off in doing that. I'll put that back on in a second. Let's get this one lined up. It's getting them lined up. There we are. Okay. Let's get this stuff back on. Oh, I can't believe I popped that off. There we are. Okay, now this, I'm going to take this, put it back over here for a minute. So we got to orient his feet. His head goes back like that. We got to orient his feet here properly. So this gets, we'll take his foot down here. This gets turned around like that. Okay. This side faces the front like that. And his feet turn and go like this right here, tuck in like that right there. Okay, and these line up right there like that. Okay, this will come around like this, and you'll see here there's a tab there and there's a tab there. When we get these parts glued on here, that's where, get this foot there, get that foot there. When we get these pieces glued on here, I have them here. Where are they at? They're going to have a slot on them to tab into this. Okay. Rotate this. Open this and this. Rotate the fist. Fold it in. Bring this up. This tab here will go into a slot right there. Like that. Like that. Do the same on this side. Get these open, rotate the fist, collapse it in, rotate this up, rotate this like that, get this straight up, and these will, so you got a slot and a tab, a slot here and a tab there. You want to get these lines up, and there you go, tabbed in place. And then this will collapse, this will collapse just like that. Come down, come down. This is going to come all the way down This has got to come all the way down, because you've got in your leg, you've got a slot in this tab, and same as the other leg, and then you've got a tab and a slot, a tab and a slot. So you've got to come all the way down. Let's do one side first. Get that leg oriented properly. Get that tab in there. I have that cleaned out? Yeah, I do. These pieces here, they snap on there. Like that. And then the rest we have to glue. So we have, this is the left, which is going to be this side right there. And we're going to glue that in place. Or what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Right here, some 3M double-sided tape, as it will allow me to take the parts off if I need to in the future. Use 3M 300 LSE. I get this stuff off of, I think, AliExpress. I get 10 sheets for like $5 or $6. And this is a half a sheet. The sheet is like that long. Oh. Just a little L on the back of that. That one will go right there. And this right side one will go right here. You notice there's a little cutout that goes over the panhead screw right there. Like, again, you can glue these on. This is just a less permanent solution that I like to do in case I want to adjust something or take something apart or replace something. This one here goes right there. And I didn't bother, like, all my parts here, if I can focus on that. Have a slight elephant's foot. I should have cleaned that off first, but I chose not to, so. Now there's these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen everything up so I can get these ones done without any interference here. Or I can just pop the legs off, I guess. So there is this one that goes on this side, the bottom of the letter C that goes there. I will have to clean it up. It does have quite a bit of elephant's foot on it, so give me a second here. I usually compensate on my K2 Plus, but sometimes when I do that, things don't stick to the dead. So I've got to choose the lesser of two evils sometimes. So this here will go right here. Just have to put there, yeah, right there. Right there. So, swapping my feet all of a sudden, for freak's sakes. Go right there. Yeah, okay. If you ever take these off and you get them confused, remember one of them has an L on the bottom. So I'm going to tape that. This tape is pretty strong too, so. This thing has a slot there and a slot there. That's meant for these two tabs. And again, I got some slight interference with this. I'm going to have to make an adjustment there on that bottom of that wrist, which was a new addition before I put this guy together. Okay, that's good. And we can plug that back in, and now we can, oops, get U-tabbed together and U-tabbed, but I won't be able to tab this one because of the clearance issue. The part behind it is hitting, the part inside there is hitting, so you'll get the idea though. Now, last piece right here. Okay, come off. Again, you've got a slot and a slot that go to two tabs. Okay, so off camera I went and I removed the two base components from his wrists. I didn't realize that these were all the revisions that I had printed and set up in there, and the new correct ones are in there now, and everything tabs in as it should. There's no clearance issues. So there's the back, there's the front, Knights of Cybertron, and the part of his legs turn into the feet for the drum set. One thing I forgot to go over before I transformed him Do I have some here? I thought I did. Yeah. So there are these two pegs on either shoulder, and the smaller one will fit the drumsticks if you wanted to put them in there and treat them like blasters, and the larger ones will fit the stage lighting / guns for Slugfest. These guns will also peg into his hand so he can wield these as well, these guns. So if you pick up this guy and you haven't picked up Slugfest and you're looking for some weapons for him to wield, you might want to pick up Slugfest to get those stage lighting for him, to give him some guns. So here he is, big bass drum, and if we take our drums that come with our roadies, we got a drum set. We got a roadie with the drumsticks. On the drumsticks it says Knights of Cybertron. We've got Knights of Cybertron on the big bass drum. And that's how that all looks right there. And we can fill it out even more by, you know, we can bring in another guy. We can bring in, here, let me grab somebody else. Hold on. Another guy here. There's another guy. Let's go get someone else. There we go. Let's come back out here further. And what else can we do? We can, hold on a second. That, for now, is the last member of my Knights of Cybertron Transformers animated style band member. I might think about working on the T-Rex. You know, this guy. I don't know what I'm gonna turn him into. I already have stage speakers. Those are the roadies back there that can be Rumble or Frenzy. And I have enough guitars. There's 3 guitars. There's Laserbeak, there's Ratbat, who is back there somewhere behind me. Slugfest, so I don't need any more guitars. So I gotta figure out what I can do with him. Until then, the headbanger here, aka Beastbox, he is the final member that was missing from the crew. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'm sorry that this was a long one. Until next time.